Turn to tax reform this morning. President Trump repeating his call for major tax cuts during a speech at an oil refinery in North Dakota yesterday, referring to the current tax code as a, quote, self-inflicted economic wound. The president vowed to simplify it for both businesses and individuals. He also urged his audience to pressure Congress to support the plan.
We will cut the business tax rate as much as possible. Ideally, we would like to bring our business tax rate down to around 15%. Now our business tax rate is the highest in the developed world, 60% higher than our foreign competitors. Pretty bad. Puts us at a big disadvantage. We have totally surrendered our competitive edge to other countries, but we're not surrendering anymore. Congress will deliver on it because they have no choice. Voters should deliver a clear message. Do your job to deliver for America, or find a new job. Do something else.
Joining us right now from Washington to weigh in on all of this, global economics editor with the Wall Street Journal, John Hilsenrath. John, is the tax reform strategy now, the tax reform plan, in jeopardy as a result of that debt deal yesterday the president reached with Democrats?
Well, you know, you could argue that it actually clears the path for Republicans to focus on the debt deal because, you know, we've been talking for weeks about how the month of September was going to be consumed with this debate about raising the debt ceiling and getting a continuing fund resolution. They now have that resolved until December, so they have a 3-month window to try to get some work done on taxes. So maybe it's a window of opportunity. You know, the interesting thing for me is, what does this say about the dynamic between Trump and the Democrats as they discuss a tax reform overhaul? I don't see how you end up getting many or any Democrats on board with a tax overhaul. So he's going to have to pivot now back to Republicans and work with them on the tax deal.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What do you think, Governor?
Well, I think what he did yesterday was a signal to the Republicans. If you're not willing to govern, I'll find somebody who will. And if it's Chuck and Nancy, as he collegially called them, so be it. If that doesn't wake them up and make them start thinking about that they have a majority in both houses, voters across this country gave it to them to get something done, and that included tax reform and tax cuts. If they don't do it, he'll figure out how to bring Heidi Heitkamp up on the stage, give her a nice tongue bath, and send her and the other Democrats on their way with some reforms.
Yeah, no, I understand, but I'm just saying do now the Democrats have all the leverage, right? This is a 3-month deal, Bob Nardelli, and, you know, we're talking about continuing resolution, debt ceiling, all of this happening around Christmas now, and they want to get tax reform done by the end of the year.
Well, I agree with the governor. I think this was very strategically thought out by him. Again, he is a businessman, right? And he takes full responsibility that the people put him in office with a mandate. The Republican Party is more about themselves right now than about serving the people. They forget who put them in office and who pays their salary, even when they're on vacation for 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, but the Republican Party is not a unitary blob. There are different elements within the Republican Party. And the other thing that the president could have done is he could have helped Paul Ryan, and he could have called out the members of the caucus who were not willing to do a debt deal, like, for instance, Mark Meadows, who was absolutely dead set against it and was a large part of the intransigence and the reason why the president eventually decided to go to the Democrats. But you know what? He didn't have to do that. There was another way here. Now he's alienated Republicans, and I think that in and of itself makes tax a lot harder because he's just upset the people within the party that he's going to need to get this deal done.
Yeah,
he's upset people within the party, but I just don't see the path to getting many, if any, Democrats on board with a tax overhaul. Because, you know, if he wants to lower the corporate tax rate, he also has to lower individual tax rates for pass-through, you know, for self-employed individuals, small businesses. And I just don't see how you're going to get many Democrats to lower all these high-end tax rates. He didn't have to pay a price, really, on the debt deal with Democrats. He's going to have to pay a price to get them on board for tax overhaul. I don't see how he does it. So he's got to go back to Republicans. And like Mary says, you know, now you've got more fractures in the Republican Party that you've got to piece together to get a tax package done.
But, John, don't you think that in a way this is his leverage now to the Republicans to say, you guys need to come up with a tax plan. We've got the votes. You put it on my desk, I'll sign it. But if you keep stonewalling everything and playing these little games among yourselves, you're going to be the losers and the Democrats are going to be the winners, because he's not that ideological. He's more the pragmatist. I mean, and I think they're finding that out.
This is the other bit of news for everyone here is there is no tax plan. You know, they're still trying to come up with some kind of plan that allows them to get corporate rates down, allows them to get some individual rates down. But every time they talk about the trade-offs that come with that, like the border adjustment, people say, no, that's off the table. We can't do that. So there isn't really a coherent plan right now that Republicans have come up with to get those tax rates down as much as the president says he wants to get them down.
Yeah, I mean, we have that one paper from April with the basic principles from the White House on tax reform, and that's it. We haven't had anything else in writing other than the white paper.
Every time they come out with new principles, they get more and more vague. Those principles in April were more vague than his campaign promises, and what they came out with more recently was even more vague than what they did in April, this group of 6. So there is no plan right now.
And let's not forget, it was the Dems who said, we're not going to cut tax rates by a penny for the highest earners. So we'll see if he's boxed into a corner on that. Okay, we're going to continue talking about this. This is our top story, but we got to get to the Fed and the ECB with you, John. Federal Reserve Board Vice Chairman Stanley Fischer says he will resign from the central bank next month, less than a year before his term was actually slated to end. The Wall Street Journal obviously reporting President Trump is unlikely to pick National Economic Director Gary Cohn to lead the Fed now. Your thoughts on these developments, and real quick on the ECB, what do you expect today?
Not expecting much on the ECB. On the Fed, I think there's, we just saw the president working with Democrats. He said he likes Janet Yellen. He said that he likes her as a person and her low-rate policies. I think there's a very strong chance that she ends up being asked to stay in that position.
Will she stay?
Well, that's a really good question. You know, if I were her, would I want to stay? You know, she has managed the place through 4 years without many events. She could go out right into the sunset on a high note. But I think, you know, her friends tell us that she would likely feel a civic duty to stay there.
That's the thing. John, thank you. John Hilsenrath.